Hi and welcome to the Trading Bell Show. Glad that you have joined us, and Merry Christmas, and of course looking forward to the new year. And I wish you very well right here from the Trading Bell Show. It's the season of the bells, as we have said, and this is the Trading Bell. So welcome. I'm joined by two amazing persons, and this is Ronnie Choka, Senior Research Analyst at Capital A, and Stella Swoke, Senior Associate at Standard Investment Bank. And we want to just really look through how was 2024 as we really gear up for 2025. So welcome, and gentlemen and lady, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Stella, I want to start with you, and I want to really open the conversation on speaking about the macros and really some of the influences that we have seen in a big way, especially to the economy and just the markets in general. What has been your keen observations on this?
Well, 2024 has been a great year in many ways. Mm-hmm. We've had so many activities from the start of the year, but economic-wise, the economy grew at a slower, or is estimated to grow at a slower rate as compared to 2023. Mm-hmm. And the main reasons include, but not limited to, lower disposable income, lower demand, as well as the economic disruptions that came with the Finance Bill 2024, which saw significant uproar from the citizens of Kenya. So this has significantly slowed down the economic performance and economic growth.
Okay, interesting observations. One would think when you look at the inflation rates and the likes, probably there will be more disposable income because we had conversations of how the food industry has been. But Ronnie, I want to bring you in as well. Did you make any keen observations on what influenced our economic growth? Any keen observations on that?
Thank you, Maina. I think 2024 can be characterized as a year of unprecedented volatility. Looking at Kenya coming in the context of the legacy effects of the pandemic, to geopolitical tensions in Russia and Ukraine, that of course disrupted supply chains, causing inflation to trickling into our economy. In response, we had central banks all over the world, including our own central bank, tighten interest rates rapidly to anchor these inflation expectations. However, I can give a lot of credit to the stewardship of the Central Bank of Kenya and in collaboration with the National Treasury, insofar as they were able to mull the fiscal tools at their disposal to cool down inflation by the end of this year. I expected that maybe inflation will cool down to sub 5% around early next year, but it seems they were able to achieve that by December this year. So kudos to them.
Okay, Stella. Kudos to the inflation, but Kenyans on the ground are saying we're not feeling it.
Mainly because a slower inflation does not necessarily mean that prices of goods and services has declined. It just means that the prices of goods and services are increasing at a slower rate. So when you look at the key or segmented items in the inflation basket, you get to see that some of these indices have grown by more than 50% in the last, say, 2-3 years. So when you look at the food index, you get to see that we have over 50% growth. You look at the things like electricity, both commercial and domestic use, over 60% growth. So when you look at that and then you get to see things like higher statutory deductions, which came with a housing levy. We have NHF now shift. We have higher taxes in terms of, for example, VAT on fuel, which came in with the Finance Act 2023. So all of these point to reduced disposable income for the Kenyan citizens, which means that they will not be able to achieve or to afford most of the things that have increased in price over time. So basically that's why Kenyans are not feeling the effects of a lower inflation. But then the translation is that a lower inflation is a decline. But the major translation from that is that prices are growing, but at a slower rate, which is a good thing, because at the end of the day, you do not expect to have stagnant prices over time. So what we look to achieve and what we always want to see is stability in the prices, and stability is translated from slower increases in prices of goods and services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a hope. Probably 2025.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. So, Ronnie, I know you have mentioned about what the central bank is doing, and we really want to appreciate the MPCs and really what they have done. But the same reciprocation as expected from the banks is not happening, and Kenyans are concerned because the interest rates especially on loans, are still high. Why are we not seeing the effect coming down? Is it because the banks are still concerned whether MPC is going to again probably come with another change?
Yeah. I was listening to the central bank governor Kamau Thuge speak to during the most recent MPC meeting, and even in the press statement, he stated he urges all banks to lower interest rates.
Yes.
And I wonder, because it really shouldn't come as a surprise that banks have not really responded in the same proportion as envisioned by the CBK, given that the central bank itself gave approvals to banks to roll out risk-based credit pricing, which in essence is a method of exercising differentiated risk pricing based on your risk profile. You're given your interest rate is priced based on your credit history and so on and so on.
Absolutely.
However, as you can imagine, it introduces some elements of subjectivity in terms of the ratings that are assigned to borrowers. And as such, it shouldn't really come as a surprise that banks have not lowered interest rates as fast. There's one bank I saw, they only lowered their benchmark rate by around 25 basis points when the central bank had lowered by more than a percentage point.
Wow.
So I think we opened, maybe the Central Bank of Kenya opened a Pandora's box, in a sense, now that interest rates are not necessarily capped as they were pre-2017. We are in a new regime of, differentiated risk pricing. I can be charged, say, 18% on credit. You can be charged 17.5%. Different rates per borrower apply in this regime.
I don't know. Stella, when you hear that, I'm wondering what's the thought process behind the banks, because I would expect that they would immediately run to this, because this would encourage more borrowers to come in and have more liquidity out, which is a boost to the economy. But we don't see them doing that, yet they are key enablers of this. And I want you to comment on that as you tie it in with our public debt, because I want to know our status and how we do it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so banks are in business, right?
They're in business,
So they're
You forgot that.
Exactly. So they're looking to make money.
Okay.
And lower rates won't make them money. And remember that we are coming from a very high interest rate environment in terms of government securities, which significantly crowded out the private sector. So as at now, banks and investors are rushing to lock in higher rates in the fixed income market before rates get to the single digits that the government has told us previously that they want to achieve. So
I want to dive in now and really change the conversation to just looking through our equities and the markets and everything else. And I just want you to just give an overview first on how we've been performing, especially as an exchange, especially in comparison to our peers. I know earlier on in the year we had really key milestones achieved. The exchange here being counted as the best as well globally and all that. And I just want to know, where are we and how are we faring?
Okay, I think the Kenyan stock market has grown by leaps and bounds, oscillating from the relative worst stock market in the world, close of last year, to the best exchange, not only by the first quarter of this year, but up to now on a year-to-date basis. Kenya's Nairobi Securities Exchange is the best performing exchange in USD terms, USD equivalents. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Very good news there. Ronnie, Stella, let me bring you in, and I want you to just give some color on investor confidence in the country. How are we seeing, especially when it comes to the returns, and are we seeing the flocking now that we are being touted as the best exchange so far?
Investor confidence really improved immediately after the Eurobond buyback. The jitters on Kenya defaulting had taken a toll on Kenya, especially in terms of portfolio inflows. There was significant capital flight from the NSE, but when the Eurobond was bought back, or we refinanced the 2024 Eurobond, we saw significant improvement, not only with regards to the capital flows, but also with the currency. So you remember when there was that capital outflow, we had issues with investors having difficulties in exiting because of lower supply of dollars. But after the buyback, we had so much confidence, and then we had the IFB that was issued in February, which also saw a lot of capital inflows from the foreign investors. So we have had good confidence since then. Also having loans, for example, from the IMF, which really helped in boosting the forex reserves. So this significantly built the confidence of investors, both locally and foreign.